What's going on, guys? Proto here. Today we're going to go over importing a virtual machine as well as the steps on creating a virtual machine from an ISO. So let's get to it.
Because the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Alrighty, guys. It's been a hot minute since I created a video. So long so that I did it on my normal profile. And yeah, so this is the second time I'm recording this. Hair's a mess. Don't have any caffeine, but I have some liquid death, so that's great. It actually is, though. I drink this stuff a lot. The mango chainsaw is what I'm drinking, actually. And I had this is the Rest in Peach, the tea. I love this stuff. It tastes amazing. Alright, so today we're going to go over virtual machines. My last video, somewhere up here, I don't know, I'll link it. I linked it in the beginning of the video too. I went over virtual machines, kind of the bare bones basics of what a virtual machine is. Today we're going to go over installing Kali Linux as a virtual machine. I've also gone over Kali Linux being installed as or via the Windows Linux subsystem, or Windows Subsystem for Linux, WSL. Yeah, that's what it is. So that'll be, I don't know, I'll probably link that somewhere over here. I don't know. Somewhere. I haven't figured that part out yet. It's worked sometimes, I don't know, not all the time. But yeah, there is something cool that I learned though. So if you're not following or listening to the Intel Techniques podcast by Michael Bazell, one, you're missing out. Two, you wouldn't have learned about this. Not the Brave browser. Qemu, I don't know. QEMU. I'll say newish. It's been around since March, I believe. March or May. I'll say mainstreamish. It's an open source virtual machine program or emulator program. He talks about it on his podcast on the Linux security update, I believe. And so I tried checking it out. I tried installing it. I don't know why, but it wasn't working on my Windows machine. I don't know what was going on, but it did not like it. It just kept giving me an error, essentially opening, shutting down. So I'll try reinstalling it and I'll play around with it, do a video on it. But I did want to say that this is out there, and it'd be great if you could see my screen this entire time. So yes, Qemu. That's what it is. Don't worry, I haven't done anything except show this page. But yeah, so I'll play around with this, try and get it installed. I have a Linux actual machine that I have, and so I'll try installing that on it, and I'll try running a Windows virtual machine on that. So yeah, if you're not following Michael Bazell on Intel Techniques, especially his podcast, you're missing out. In the world of OSINT, privacy and security, that is a main dude for all of this information. But back to me, what are we doing today? Again, we're going over virtual machines. So we go to the desktop here, I go away, and I show you these two programs. So we have VirtualBox and VMware Workstation. I like VirtualBox more. However, VMware Workstation does run better with some virtual machines. The Kodachi Linux, and I believe it was CSI Linux that I ran. Both ran better on here. So there is that. And you know what? We will actually do something. We'll do a secondary install. I'll do the Tracelabs install on the workstation, and I'll do the Kali install on VirtualBox maybe. I don't know. We'll figure that out. If I have it, I will do that. If not, we're just going to do the Kali on both. Alright, so one eternity later, and I'm back. What we're going to do is start off with VMware Workstation. And the reason for that is it doesn't give you a lot of the same stuff that VirtualBox does, and I'd like to go over that a little bit more. So you're going to download VMware Workstation Player, that's the one, and then this is going to pop up. So once you get this downloaded, this is a fresh install, you can do a couple things. Create a new virtual machine, open an existing virtual machine, so that's what we're going to be doing, and then upgrade it. That's about it. You can't really do anything else in terms of managing. Really, it's very bare bones, but it runs well. It does run well. I will give it that. So we're going to open a virtual machine, and we're going to go to my downloads. I didn't put it on my downloads. Where did I put it? We're going to find that. Alright, we're back. I forgot that on this machine I didn't have some of the things that I had on the other one, so that's fixed. We're back. So to import a virtual machine in VMware Workstation Player, you're going to do open a virtual machine. Go wherever you downloaded it, and open it. Now you have your virtual machine, like it's there. So what you can do is you can go and edit some of the settings. Now some is going to be, stars next to that. So you can mess with the basic settings of the computer and virtual machine. So the memory, the processors that you give it, hard disk size, a handful of other things. If you go to add, you can add a sound card, add a adapter, a serial port. Again, depending on what you're doing, I would look into this stuff more, but if you're going to be doing a lot more of this, I would say maybe look at either the Pro version or VirtualBox. Again, you can mess with the sliders of each of these. Now you can do the NAT stuff and connect and configure addresses. Haven't done that for a hot minute, so that is something that I could research and do a video on. However, it is a bit easier in VirtualBox, from what I remember, because I tried doing it in both. So let's say you've messed with what you want. You can change the name. I don't believe you can. Yeah, you can't edit it straight from here. Can you? No, you can't. What you can do is rename it from here. So just rename it Trace Labs, and you're gonna play the virtual machine. You're gonna run it. Well, helpful box pops up. So to do direct input on the virtual machine, press Control G. And I know this says Kali Linux. Trace Labs is based off of Kali Linux. When you click on it, your mouse will go away, and then it'll give you the information in the top left corner. To go back to your main computer, press Control Alt, and there you go. Now what's going to happen is you'll see there's a bunch of small text, so it'll only show this area. Drag down, drag up, and there you go. So with Trace Labs, OSINT and OSINT are the passwords and usernames for both logging in and on your terminal for your sudo. Now you have access to the full virtual machine. So I want to say it was with Ringmaster and the DC. I'm trying to read it. It's on my hard drive right here. The DC 561 group. We did a Trace Labs not workshop, but OSINT event together. We all worked together in doing one of their events, and this is what we used when doing it. So this gives you the ability to not only mess around with this operating system, you can use it just as you would if it was installed on your machine. What you lack is a bare bones computer with this on it. So some of the processes in Kali, you want a stronger GPU. Some say it's better to do that on a hard machine. However, I had just as much luck on a virtual machine as I did on the actual Surface that I have. But this is it. Another good thing about using the virtual machines is if you don't like this, if you don't like it, when I say this, if you don't like this operating system, if you don't like this style, whatever it may be, you can just easily delete and download something else and get started again. It's not like you're going bare bones from an ISO, building it up like you would with Ubuntu. But once you're done installing, you have full access to everything. So that's about it for VMware Workstation. For VirtualBox, there's a lot more you can do. So I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna open up VirtualBox and we'll get started on that. So I opened up VirtualBox, and the first thing that I did was go to File and check for updates, and there was an update. So what I'm doing right now is downloading that. It's done here. Wait for my Windows system to pop up and yell at me. There we go. Go through this whole setup portion. Now, when you do work with VirtualBox, when you're doing the install and the setup, you are going to lose your network connectivity for a short moment while it resets the network adapter. However, once that's done, it's just a quick short minute. You're back up and running like normal. So I'm going to wait for this to download and install, and we'll get going. Alright, after I don't know how long of things updating and downloading, we're back. So, I'm going to go over some of the things that I really like about VirtualBox as we import. So, and I say import, that's not the right word. So we're not going to import, we're going to add. Alrighty, so you're going to open up the VirtualBox one, not the VMware one if you did download both. The VirtualBox, and it's going to load. Now, it looks a lot different than the VMware, and honestly, I like this better. Now, I talked about VirtualBox being clunky, because it is. It's very clunky. VMware Workstation is very smooth, very sleek. However, you have much more that you can do with this. Just right off the bat, you can see a bunch of information, and you have the description of it. And the description is completely customizable, changeable. You can do this for virtual machines that you create, whether that's from a straight ISO or if you do just create your own virtual machine based off of a different Linux or Mac or Windows ISO. However you decide to do that, you can create your own description, update it however, whenever. The one good thing about the Kali VirtualBox download and the Tracelabs download is the description has the username and password for you, which you can change in the description. I don't suggest it unless it's just a purely testing one, nothing that's going to connect to anything important. But we'll go over kind of from the top down, being able to change it in terms of the name. So we'll change it to Kali. Looking at the advanced settings, this is where all the snapshots are going to be, and then and we'll go over snapshots in a second, and then the shared clipboard and the drag and drop, something that you don't get in VMware. You can change it to fully disabled, host to guest, or guest to host, or how it is here, bidirectional. Same thing with the clipboard. You have all the different options, which is extremely helpful when you're trying to keep as much of this sandboxed as possible, you can completely box it in terms of you can't share the clipboard, you can't drag and drop, you can't share folders, things of that nature. You can enable disk encryption, and just like in VMware, you can change the different properties of it. Now, as you change it and add things, it might give you an error, but there's usually something to help you fix that. Again, here's your network adapters. You can change a bunch of things on it, and I mean, just go crazy in terms of what you want to do to try and make everything fit into the same ecosystem when you're doing virtual machine testing or just practice. You can add shared folders, and you can mess with the interface. So we're going to go to OK, since I did change something. So change the name. Now what you can do as well is you can right click it, and you can move to a group, create a new group, and you can rename the group whatever you want. Just name it Kali. And then if you were to add another virtual machine in it, this could be, you can rename it Lab, and this would be everything connected on that same network to where they all talk to each other when they're running at the same time. Now if you click these three boxes here, you can look at a bunch of different things. You can look at the file system of it, the different activity, the logs, and the snapshots. Now, snapshots are super helpful. So you have the current state, which is for us is going to be that fresh install. And let's say I add a few things to it that I know won't change anything or break anything in terms of the system. So I change passwords, I add some folders, I might have added a couple different programs, a password manager, things of that nature, and then I log off and exit out. I can create a snapshot, and I can rename it and give it a description. And what I like to do is give it a snapshot of the date, and then in my description, what I did. So did I add something? Did I take something away? Did I change passwords? What did I do on that? And then once you're done with that, let's say something messes up, you can go back to a different snapshot. Now what I like to do is have one main machine. So we have our main machine, and this is what I do, and I took this following the OSINT book from Michael Bazzell. You create your machine, and then you clone it, and the clone, so you're going to clone everything and change all of that fun stuff. There's an expert mode, you can go deep into it, but when you clone it, the cloned version is what you're going to be using for an investigation or for whatever it may be. And then let's say you do some updates to it, you can test it out you can test it out on the cloned version, and if it works, you can change it on the main version, or create a new snapshot, change some stuff. If it doesn't work, go back to the old snapshot. So we have that, and then details is just this main details that we saw before. So we're going to click on it, and we can start. You can do a headless start, a detachable start, or just a normal. We're just going to do a normal start, which is just pressing the start button, or you can double click that. Now it's going to power up the VM, and it's going to go through the same process as the other one, as the VMware workstation, except this is an actual Kali VM and not a Tracelabs VM. Tracelabs is, like you saw, based off of the Kali VM. However, things are taken out. They've changed some things. Now what you get with VirtualBox is the clunkiness. It starts off in this separate window, which is nice. But no matter how much I try and change that, this won't change. Now, it will say, once you click inside, it'll give you this information. You can click Do Not Show if you haven't used this a bunch, and you haven't changed any of the settings on VirtualBox. I would keep this up for the first handful of times you use it. I know that mine's always right control, so I'm fine with that. You can go to the view, you can do a full screen, and host F, so the host key is right control, so host F is how I'm going to get it out of this. And we're going to get rid of this, there we go. And you can see that it's still not the full screen. Kali, just like before, and now you get the full screen. Again, that's one of the clunky hiccups that you get with VirtualBox, but it's not that big of a deal. And now you're here. You've got a full virtual machine just like you had before, but now you have it as full screen. You don't have any of the bars, you don't have anything else. It's a full screen, just like you'd be using a computer. And the fun part about Kali, I'd have to look it up because I don't remember the command, but there is a way to get it into secret mode. I don't remember what it's called. I'm just gonna Google the Kali secret undercover. That's right. Forgot about that. So just do Kali-undercover. If you haven't used Linux before and this is going to be your first time, when you start typing in a lot of the newer systems, you can tab and it'll give you some commands that are possible based off of what you've already done. So we're going to do undercover, and as you start typing, because it's the only U and the only UN, you can start typing partially and it completes it. So when you do Kali undercover, it now changes this to a Windows screen. So when I am out and about just messing around with this, especially at school or when I'm at different trainings and I'm with people that may know a bit or may not know as much and I really don't feel like getting bothered, I'll actually change it to undercover mode. And it's just like a Windows machine, but has all the Kali stuff on it. And if you want to get out of it, same thing. Oops. Change it to your Kali Linux machine again. I'll say desktop settings restored. So those are the two easiest ways to create a virtual machine. And I say the easiest ways because it is. The machine's already created for you. All you need to do really is change a couple things. If you really want to change the password for Kali, you can change the password. That's the command. But that's, stuff that you would be doing as you're going through the process of working on the machine and things of that nature. There is one more way to create a virtual machine. You can do one of two things, by the way. You can either hit the power button for whatever machine you're using and shut it down, or that is one thing. Save the session for future logins. That means whatever you're working on. That means whatever you're working on right now, it'll save the state of whatever you're working on. I tend to uncheck that just because I prefer to not have everything saved. Now, the other way that you can do this, if I get my mouse back over here, have VirtualBox open again, you can create a new virtual machine. And there's a basic mode and then an expert mode. And as you go through, you're going to be choosing the folder where it's saved. You're going to be choosing the ISO image, the type. Now it might, based off of the ISO, fill this in automatically. You can do an unintended install by choosing the username and password already, filling that in. To the hardware side of it, and then the hard disk side of it, of where you're going to save it, how much space you want to give it in terms of gigabytes. You can do a different style of image, and then you can add just do not add one. You can add an existing virtual hard disk file. And there was one more. They changed it up. Yeah, so they changed it so there's, I'm assuming, a way to still do it, but it was how it will grow as you use it. So it'll take as little space as possible right now, and then as you go, it'll start filling up until you hit whatever limit you give it. But when you do that, you go and you fill out all the information as you would when you normally install something off of an ISO. So when you're installing Ubuntu off of the ISO, you're going to go through all of the steps and processes for just a straight install. You're going to tell the region, you're going to choose the keyboard layout, you're going to choose everything, which is good and bad. You can do a bunch of information with a virtual hard disk in terms of segmenting and encrypting it, and going through that whole process just takes time, and the install takes time as well. So you're going through just the setup, and then you're going through the install, and now you have to download all the programs you want, or if you're doing a light install, make sure that it doesn't download certain programs. Whereas with the virtual machines and the pre-made virtual machines, everything's there. It's ready to go. So those are my two processes on downloading and installing these, and you got to see some of the things that I like and dislike about these two programs. What I'm going to be working on is, for the next video, is doing the basics of an investigation. So using the Kali system that I have, going through, starting a folder. I mean, the bare bones. Hey, what am I going to do from the start? Well, I need to create the folder, I need to find the target, fill out information on the target, go through all that, and then from there, that basic, okay, I'm going through this list of what I want to find. I'll try and do it on some random person out in the middle of nowhere. That video will take a little bit to edit, just because I'm going to be doing a lot of blurring and redaction, things of that nature. But it might be segmented into parts, not too sure, but my goal is to at least record it as a whole. I've been gone for a bit. I appreciate you all just sticking around. I keep getting messages, keep getting likes, shares, comments, things of that nature that just keep me connected with you guys, so I do appreciate that. Let me know what you thought about this video. It was, again, second time that I had made it, so a little tired at this point. As you see, it started off light in here, now it's dark. So let me know what you liked about it, let me know what you didn't like, and then yeah, keep a lookout for the next video, and have a great rest of the week.
Because the road to hell is paved with good intentions.